Awesome. Hey everyone, Tony Bacigalupo, Newark City Organizers Club, August 14th, Monday, 12:05 p.m. And I got an awesome group of people here, and we are going to be talking about fall planning. Very important topic. Everybody has something that we need to be planning for, and it's mid-August, so now's the time. This recording, by the way, I'm just talking to you guys now, you in attendance here. I'm told is valuable to folks for whom the time zone situation is not so workable. So hopefully somebody's watching this afterward and getting some value out of tuning into our conversation. So I was thinking we could just do a little round of intros because I'm never quite sure if everybody here has met before, and doesn't hurt to just kind of refresh. But this time with your intro, give me a sense of kind of what's on your mind as far as planning for the rest of the year. Do you have a plan in place? Do you need to come up with one? Kind of where's your head at with it? John, you're the first person on my screen, and then I've got Colin. You're on deck.
Hello, everyone. John Vierig, Charlotte, North Carolina. I was just telling Tony we're finalizing our lease negotiations with some TI improvements and looking at first quarter of next year to open. So yes, there is a plan in place, but I think like any plan, whatever revisions can be made to improve upon that plan, I'm always open for ideas and suggestions. And this group has been very helpful. I'm a firm believer in, why reinvent the wheel when someone else is already using it. So whatever information I can gather and implement into my own plan, I will definitely do so. And likewise, if there's anything I can share that I feel will be beneficial to the group, I'll do so.
Awesome. Thanks, John. I have a question for you, but I think I'll wait until we've gone through our intros and we'll circle it back around. Colin, take it away, and then Brandon.
Cool. I'm Colin Loretz. I head up Reno Collective out here in Reno, Nevada. And really this fall, we're just kind of focused on kind of repairing our membership a little bit, since we purchased the building and moved. And we were communicating with members a lot through that process. And so we did lose some members, mostly people who weren't using the space or using the community at all. And so in some ways it was kind of a good thing. It was kind of cleaning house. But now we're trying to get back to kind of the numbers that we were at before and then beyond. So that's kind of what our focus is.
Awesome. Thanks, Colin. It's nice to see you again, and congrats on the move and all of that. It's big news. I'm sure there's a lot to share in terms of your experience there.
Totally.
All right, Brandon, and then Emily, you'll round us out.
Good morning. So can you hear me okay? Great. So Brandon with Sacred Places, located in Palo Alto, California. Focused right now on just building a community, really understanding the needs of the local entrepreneurs and why they'd want to use a church for a co-working space. And at the same time, one of the things I'm focused on is actually creating focus groups with with entrepreneurs and with pastors. And so that's the other thing I'm working on too. So those two things.
Cool. We'll want to get more into that as well. Definitely want to dive into some of the specifics of what you guys are talking about here. Amelie, how's it going? What's the latest?
It's good. How are you?
I'm great. It's nice to see you. What's going on?
You too. Yeah. So this talk today kind of intrigued me because I'm kind of feeling like I need to focus on this. You guys are all talking about like, do you have a plan? Do you not have a plan? And no, I don't have a plan, and I need help with a plan. So we had a really good the past couple months, not as strong as last year, but the community definitely feels strong. It's just maybe not so much our numbers right now. And I guess I'm looking to figure out how to not have these lulls so much anymore. I think like this month already in August, I'm going to lose about 8 to 10 members. We had a team of 4 residents move out, and so that hurts. So yeah, just joining this call to kind of learn more about what you guys are doing, and start planning some of that more like high level strategy things. So.
Awesome. Thank you, Emily. So I'm seeing some parallels here. Obviously, there's two folks on the call who are currently running spaces, and then two folks who are building new communities. And so there's some parallels there, and there are some differences in terms of the ways that we approach it. I'm inclined to talk a little bit about the existing communities first, just because I think, well, I'm just listening to Emily talk about it, and it's reminding me some of the natural rhythms of the season. And I think that is relevant even if you're starting a new space, but recognizing that we are in the absolute doldrums. This is the worst time of year for a co-working space. Typically, you end up, usually losing a lot of members. People aren't coming into the space. People are on vacation. Totally natural. But it's a bit of a like clearing the fields for the new, because September and October tend to be the best time of year to get new members, and in particular right after Labor Day. So, you've got people this month who are moving away from town, and you've got people next month who are moving into town, right? That's the way that the rhythms of society go. You've got school starting, things like that. So that's why it's important to be coming up with our plan. And I think that even if you're not currently running a space, so if you're John or if you're Brandon, you can be thinking about how to take advantage of these seasonal rhythms to engage people as you are developing your space. So like for John, your space isn't going to open until Q1, but you are going to have this whole fall to potentially engage your prospective members and get some of those early folks on board. So in basically everybody's case here, there's something that you can be doing, early mid-September that can be kind of engaging the people that you want to get on board. For the existing spaces, I think that manifests very clearly in just making a very, very clear date of this is a day when we want to get a bunch of people to join on. What I did previously for this was I started a Cotivation group, and I used the Cotivation group as the impetus, where I would say, join by this date, and you can be a part of this new accountability group we were doing. So I was a big fan of that. I have a document in the toolkit for an impact co-working program, which is my way of kind of integrating that Cotivation notion into a co-working space membership in a more deep way. So you can have a look at that. But it could even just be a party. It could be a membership drive. It could be a one-off event, something like that. But what you want to do is you want to have some kind of target that I would put somewhere between the end of the first week of September and the second week of September. There's kind of this sweet spot of like people are coming into the space and they're honestly researching it now. So we want to be able to have the promotion for this kind of stuff up as soon as possible. But if you can have something, let's see, we got Labor Day, September 14th, that's Monday. So sometime that following week, September 11 to 15, if you've got something that's going to be your like anchor that you can really kind of use as the lightning rod to attract people, then the marketing you can do over the next 4 weeks can really kind of gear people towards this idea of get on board by this day, and you can join up with all the other people who have gotten on board by then, and we're going to do this whole thing for the fall that's going to be really awesome. And so that's going to, like, the reason that we do that is because right now we know that there are people who are starting to look at what co-working space they want to join for the fall. And you want to give them a reason to notice yours as being one that kind of stands out, and to have a very specific reason to join by a specific day. Creating that kind of sense of urgency really, I found just, helps to get people moving. How's this all sounded for you guys so far? Colin and Amelie, I'm looking at you specifically for this one.
Yeah, I think that sounds really good. We're actually running a Cotivation right now, and our next one probably won't be scheduled until like October or so. So that's kind of where I'm at with something like that. I've noticed a couple of communities doing like open houses or even like a work with day, which I think is like kind of a neat idea. So I've been playing around with maybe something like that. I guess for me, the hardest part is maybe the marketing side of it and getting it out to the masses, because I've been realizing that whenever we like put on an event or something like that, it's kind of a bit of an echo chamber. Like I'll write it, on social media, and that's about it. But that's my own fault, and I know it. But even just like trying to figure out different ways to get the word out that isn't necessarily our sole channels, or maybe working with, partnerships, or is it like emails? And I know this is probably a little off topic to this topic, but I guess that's where I get hung up, is not necessarily like the why, it's just maybe more of the how.
Okay, so that's great. I think this is actually very on topic, and this is relevant to everybody in the call. How do you keep track of prospective members, like people who have expressed interest in the website or come in for a tour?
So I use a Gmail plugin called Streak, because I was, I could have used a CRM tool or something, but I just needed all my conversations kind of in the same spot. So I don't know if you've ever seen that. Maybe you can give me a nod if you have. But either way, I can actually link a blog post I wrote about it in our chat. But yeah, that's kind of how I keep track of everything. So if somebody comes in for a tour, I like write a little note about them, and then I'll like write a note to follow up. And then I also have like a funnel, so I can tell like where they are in the process. Like, okay, did they come in for their trial day? Do I need to invite them in? Are they taking advantage of me and trying to get a second trial day? Which has never happened, but which is good. So that's how I keep track.
Got it. Okay. Yeah, I have heard of Streak, and I would love to see your post. So
Cool.
that sounds great. Okay. So, and do you have a ballpark? How many people are in that Streak account?
Yeah, probably about 10 or 15 right now.
10 or 15. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
What about like, is there some kind of trove of email addresses of people who have expressed interest through the website over the past several years?
Yeah, I do have some Woofu forums, like tour forums.
Here's what I'm thinking. If you could spend some time crunching those, what you might want to do is be a little bit more targeted, right? I'm so not a fan of social media, just because, especially these days, it's just become a nightmare. Like for marketing, it's just, there's too much insanity going on in social media to depend on it, unless you have like a really dedicated team of people who are just kicking ass on that. So like what I'm interested in is, who are people who've been expressing interest in this? How have you engaged them to date? Even if it's someone who expressed interest a year ago, maybe even 2 years ago, like, how can you be continuing to engage those people with some kind of regularity? And now's the time. Like, this would be the perfect opportunity to hit up somebody and say like, hey, I know you expressed interest in this. Just want to let you know, we're going to be doing like the mega, like, tacos for coworkers marathon on Tuesday, September 12th. And, if you're interested, we'll save you some tacos. Would you like to come by? Right? Like super, super lightweight, very easy to do. And just like, you might have like 500 people who've expressed interest in this thing over the course of the last couple of years. Are we going to get 5 or 10 of those people to show up? Maybe, like that's not unreasonable to think. And then, that could convert you really well. And obviously people who have participated more recently too, but, does that make sense? Does that give you a little bit more of an idea?
Yeah, I think it's a good idea to kind of try to reach people who have been interested. Yeah, I like that idea. I also need to figure out the other side of the people who I don't know yet.
Yeah, how to reach new people, right?
Mm-hmm.
Reaching new people is tricky. They kind of have to come to us in a way. You think about, like, what is the profile of the person who is going to join your space in September or October. There's somebody who's looking to make some kind of a change, right? People join co-working spaces when something about their situation has changed. They either just quit their job, they just got fired or laid off or whatever. They just moved into town. Their business suddenly started doing better. They had that eureka moment we've all had when we realized that working from home is driving us crazy. You know, are you writing this down? I was hoping someone was writing. Okay.
You're recording it.
I am recording it. I know, that's good. I was more trying to get a sense of if this was good or not. Okay. So then, like, what are they searching for? Like, what's the entry point there? For me, like, what I'm doing now is I'm finding that, like, I want lots of people to join this organizers club so I can, work on it full time. And I'm growing it slowly. But what I'm finding is that people who are coming to me are people who are starting new co-working spaces. And when they're starting new co-working spaces, they're searching for very specific things, like a membership agreement template. Everybody who wants a new co-working space has to come up with a bunch of documents, and one of them is a membership agreement template. And for some reason, people Google that because they want to try to find a free version, and they find me and they sign up for my mailing list, right? So now I know, like, what a person who's starting a new co-working space needs is a membership agreement. I can give them one for free. In exchange, you give me their email address, and now I can stick them in my funnel. And that's really highly qualified. Like, nobody's going to be interested in downloading a membership agreement template unless you're starting a new co-working space. So, like, that person's a really good, like, potential candidate to be someone who could join our club. So what does that look like for you, for people joining a co-working space? Maybe we can just brainstorm on that. I think personally, from my own experience, event programming is a great way to do it. And you could come up with that in a lot of different ways, right? You could do, freelancer happy hour. You could do, Taco Tuesday for entrepreneur, whatever, right? Like, things that kind of draw those people out, because people who are looking for this are looking to connect with new communities, and, events are just one way to catch people like that. And of course, you could do, like, conventional advertising too. You could do, Google ads for people searching, co-working Grand Rapids, and do a campaign, even if just for the next 4 weeks, throw $100 or $200 into AdWords, Facebook ads, AdWords probably, because then you could really search for people specifically searching for co-working. But yeah, I'm all about, like, viral event programming. I hate that I use the word viral. Awesome. Just, like, exciting event programming, because people have a good time, they spread the word, and, the word gets out. The pictures, of everyone having fun just really makes a huge difference. And it helps to kind of shore up morale for your existing community as well. So, it's a little bit of I think it's a little bit of a tricky science. Like, maybe you guys, if you guys have any thoughts, Colin or John, if you have any kind of thoughts on, like, how to, like, catch those people or how to market to those people better, I'm totally open to suggestions. But absent that, I think, doing awesome events and trying to catch people, I think makes a difference. It's just word of mouth.
Yeah, events have always been what's been important for us, and even for those of you guys that are starting new spaces. We existed purely as events before we had a physical space. So we were running Ignite Reno. We were running like WordPress events. We were doing things where we knew people who would work in co-working spaces, would congregate. And so at the time, we started in 2009. So, like, there wasn't really a place where people were congregating at the time. So we had to kind of create those places. And now, internally we're doing Cotivation, which has been really popular. And we're doing kind of trying to help our freelancers get better. Our theory now is that if we can help our members charge more, get better clients, get paid, then paying their membership is going to be, like, the last thing they have to worry about. And so how do we help our freelancers get better? And we're looking at something called Freelance Friday, which is freelancefriday.co. They basically promote this monthly, like last Friday of the month, opening your space up, kind of like a free co-work day. but specifically geared around freelancing and topics around freelancing. And it's been amazing how we had a lunch and learn on rates and getting paid. And that turned into literally the rest of the day just talking about those things. And once you get a bunch of freelancers talking about how do you get paid and what's your rate and all that kind of stuff, they kind of feed off of each other. And to the point where now they all want to kind of start raising their rates together. So if all of our freelancers can just raise all of their rates, I don't know what we're doing to the local economy here, but it'll be good for everybody.
That's great. And that's a clear winner. Like, what freelancer isn't going to want to go to an event that, gives them some hope that maybe they could figure out how to charge more money? Yeah. That's awesome. I love it. Do you have a link to anything you can kind of throw in the chat, Colin?
I'll see. Most of it's been, so we rely heavily on our newsletter. This might help you, Amelie. I don't know. Do you guys do any newsletter right now?
No, we don't. It's one of those things that's like, oh, it would be so awesome if we did.
Yeah.
Who's going to do it?
It's honestly not easy. And we've been toying with going weekly just because it'd be less content every week. Then we do it once a month. And it's a chore. I mean, we had an intern for the last couple of months, and she's actually leaving us now. And so I know that will fall back on me here pretty soon here. And we have, I think, like 800 people on the newsletter, which is anyone who's been interested, anyone who is interested yet hasn't yet unsubscribed. And we find that works so much better because even on Facebook, you have to boost your events and posts anymore these days for people to see them. We have a couple, I think like 1,500 people on our Facebook, but not everyone sees it unless you boost it. And so we've been boosting posts just to see how that works too. But the newsletter is our audience. We don't have to pay extra to get in front of those 800 people. Most of those are our members. We add all of our members to the newsletter automatically. And we do get some people who come through and in terms of they've been a member and they left and then now they're coming back because they're seeing that we're doing something more aligned with what they were interested in. Maybe we just didn't do those kinds of things when they were a member. And we've also been looking at ways to try to do an exit survey of sorts when people leave so that we know, was it that they weren't using the physical space or was it that they couldn't find work, or what was it that caused them to leave so that we can try to hopefully get some of them back if their work circumstances still allow it.
I love it, Colin. It's awesome stuff.
That's a really good point about the newsletter and just having your audience's attention all the time.
Yeah, you control that, and it's powerful. As much as everyone thinks the email is kind of dead, we all probably check our email way more than anything else. So it's pretty powerful.
Yeah, I'm going to give that a big +1. You have to use your newsletter. I
can send you guys a copy of ours too.
Yeah, forward us your
just add us to our list.
Yeah.
I did just schedule a show and tell for us for 2 weeks from now. So we could do a little bit pass the mic around and show off something that we did, like our newsletters or whatever for inspiration. Emily, I want to give you some tips because I do think newsletters are so critical. So number one, consult Aaron if you want, but decide what your moral compass is as far as sending newsletters out to people who have expressed interest in the past, or just see how you want to do with that. You may see fit to just send a warm-up newsletter to people to let them know or whatever, but, at least from now on, maybe make that clear or say something about that or honestly just do it and just see what happens. I don't think there's any reason to be shy about it if people, make it really easy for people to unsubscribe, but, send it to people, send the newsletter to people and, invite them to tell you they don't want it. They've told you they're interested. So at least, so that's one. Once a month is a lot easier than once a week. I know we tried to do a weekly newsletter and it was so painful because, it's okay, we're going to send it every Tuesday and then it's Wednesday because we got busy on Tuesday and then it's Thursday and then we start to run into the next week's newsletter already. And that could be hard, but, so yeah, you could start with monthly if weekly is intimidating just to get into the rhythm. But my big tip in newsletter making is to make it very, very easy to just fill in the blanks. So what I found made it difficult when we were trying to put out newsletters and it was hard was that we were trying to produce a lot of content. It was like we were redesigning the newsletter every month or every week and trying to like create all this like narrative stuff and graphics and all these things. And like, it just made it very, very labor intensive. Whereas what I found works a lot better is if you have a template that's already there, you basically like, this is what I do when I send out my weekly thing to you guys, right? Is like, I sent out the thing to you today. When I created that, I just copied and pasted into next week's. So next week's email that I'm going to send you on Sunday or Monday is already there. I just have to delete this week's stuff and replace it with next week's stuff. But like the draft is already there. The subject line's already there. Like it's all ready to go. And so all I do is swap out the meeting information and, add in whatever other sections or like specific updates I need. But it makes the whole process like 10 or 15 minutes, and like that I can do. And I'm notoriously really bad about doing regular stuff like that, but like that I can do. And that's so far been working for me. Do you think that would help? I'm guessing that's like a factor for you.
Yeah, I think it's mostly just a lot to do with, when you guys were talking about newsletter, I guess I think of newsletter in a different way. Like I do something really similar that you do week to week, Tony, with the sending out. I guess I think of like a newsletter as like this beautifully like pretty MailChimp thing. I don't know.
It can be pretty.
Yeah, no, I know. I guess I don't know. I think I like put this like really high like priority or like whatever on that versus like something that's like a weekly task to me that's just like updating a couple things like, oh, this is what's happening in the space today, or this is what we can look forward to. I don't know.
Okay, so I think that there's a balance to be struck there as well. I just pasted into the chat a newsletter that I'm a huge fan of, and it's a yoga / co-working space in Bushwick called New Love City, and so I can't help but be a fan of it. But this lady, every single Sunday, she sends out a heartfelt, beautiful newsletter, which is like a few paragraphs of copy that she wrote that's obviously like very personal and very well written, and then the list of upcoming classes and announcements. And so like classes and announcements, very easy, copy paste. A lot of it is the same from week to week, so you're just kind of deleting the old and like popping in some of the new. And I can tell that like even though she writes really good quality stuff, she just I know that she just sits down on Sunday morning and just busts out whatever's on her mind for 15 minutes. And like, I can't, like, it's very, very good, but I have to imagine she's worked very hard to not spend more than half an hour on it, because otherwise she wouldn't be so damn consistent about it. She's been rock solid consistent about it. And she's a yoga teacher, like in Bushwick. So with being consistent, I'm sure is hard for that lifestyle. So not to prejudge, but like, I'm impressed.
Yeah, ours is pretty intensive, and that's why we only do it once a month. So I just posted ours in there. It's all of our events though for a whole month. Sorry about that, Emily.
No, you're totally fine. I was just gonna mention that like maybe something like that is the answer instead of working it up in your head to be this like thing with all these subtopics and blah blah blah. Like maybe the thing that you get from me each month is like, we're so excited about all these things, and like we're so happy about the members who have moved on, and like these are some things to look forward to the next month, and instead of it, having all these sections and like, because like in my mind I'm thinking about collaborating with members and having them, like write little pieces of copy that they want to talk about or something, and I'm just like, oh my god, a newsletter. Ah!
I think what you're talking about too is a little different too, because it depends on what you want that newsletter to be for. Most of the people who get our newsletter are not members, and I think getting them to see a peek of what members are up to is interesting. But it sounds like that might be really great for like an internal members only type communication where members can share with each other, versus for me, I treat our calendar as a way to pull people in, because ours is mostly like a calendar newsletter. It's all the events that can get people to come in. And it doesn't matter whether you're a member or not. These are going to be things that are important to you. And then we don't obviously do a hard sell when people come to events, but people ask the question, what is this place, when they come, and then they get to see themselves, imagine themselves working here, hopefully. And then we can talk to them after the event.
Yeah, I'm gonna plus one everything Colin just said. I feel like sometimes I feel like I'm too soft in giving my advice to folks in this group, but like everybody who you interact with, who gives you their business card, or everyone who walks in the door for an event, and capture their email and put them on a newsletter and send them a newsletter. It will make you lots and lots of money, right? It will get you lots of members over time. I've seen people do it. I didn't do it as well as I should have when I ran my own space, but like, you got to do it. Absolutely. And yeah, you could do an internal one too. And the internal one can be a little bit easier as well. But it's worth it. It's so worth it. Like, take the amount of time you'd work on that, and then the amount of time you'd put into social media, like bang for buck, newsletter first. Totally. And this is important for you guys, Brandon and John, as well, because you're just getting started. So you can get this right from the start. Like, every damn email address, every person you meet, put it in a spreadsheet, put it in a MailChimp, make sure that those people are online. And even early on, the newsletter can exist long before there's a co-working space, and that helps to build a narrative in people's minds. If I'm receiving a newsletter of, hey, we're going to build this thing, it's going to open next year, hey, this week we negotiated with the landlord, we're going to have air conditioning, that's great. Hey, we, just check out our floor plans, what do you think, right? By the time those doors open, these people have been following the story for months, and they're like so ready to be a part of it, right? Like, they're ready to come to the party and actually visit the space. And like, that narrative, that emotional connection is the juicy goodness that's going to make your launch really successful. And for the existing space owners, that story doesn't stop with the opening, right? You guys have a story. Whatever's going on with where you're going with your space, creating this is a good conversation actually to have, is like, what is the story of your community for the rest of this year and beyond? Are you guys going to do some kind of a, like a company powwow sometime in the fall to set your goals for 2018? Yes, you should totally make time for that. And then when you do, like, you can say, hey, this is where we want to go next year, and these are the ways you can help us get there. Let's work on it together.
Hey, Tony, can I add something?
Yeah.
Having come from a retail background in selling home furnishings and accessories, our existence depended on events, getting people into the store. So we actually really utilized social media, and probably our most effective tool was the e-flyers that we sent out, basically announcing events and sales and anything that was happening within our stores. And that became a real art. But what we learned is, it's so important on what you put in your subject line. We tend to use a lot more images and graphics because it's really hard to get people to, spend much time reading anything. So, we would try to emphasize in captions what we were either selling or the event to get them captured. And then if they wanted to, they could scroll down and get more information. But that became an art on, how many times you can send that out. And obviously this is a little different versus a true newsletter. I think you can overwhelm people once a month. I think would be ideal to begin with. But there are certain times of day that people read their emails more. And, also one of the things we learned is if we started sending out too many e-flyers, people start dropping off. I think that's, a lot of large companies and brands just inundate people with 4 or 5 emails a day, and they end up, opting out because they're getting too many of those emails. So, but I agree. I think the event planning is so important, and I did hear the term twice, cotivations, and I'd like to know more about what the definition of that is, because it's a great term.
Thanks, John. Yeah, and just to put a button on the newsletter conversation, there is a very interesting challenge between like using the visuals to make things kind of short and punchy and interesting versus like the usability of like plain text, and even like the personal approach. Like a lot of emails now remove all the formatting and address it almost like a letter. It's, like, hey, first name, like, did you know that, like make it more individualized. So I don't know. I feel like there's a lot of different ways of approaching it, but there's probably no wrong way. It's just a matter of trying different stuff and see what works well. Cool. Oh, okay. So I see Colin pasted into the chat the announcement of the Cotivation program at Reno Collective. Colin, do you want to explain Cotivation?
Sure. Yeah, we're wrapping up our first one this week, so it's been good. Cotivation for us is there's a guide for it in the New York City toolkit that Tony and I forgot was it Sally?
Susan Dorsch of Office Nomad. She was the mastermind behind the document. I invented Cotivation, but she made the manual.
Perfect. Yeah, so it's a program for you to kind of create a peer accountability program within your space. So for us, our members kind of approached it very lukewarm just because they were already busy enough. But the members who have participated in it have really refocused and kind of calibrated what is important to them in their freelance business or startup. We have quite a diverse group. We have 8 people in our program, which is about the upper limit of how many people you'd want in there. And we have a guy who sells his own brand of energy bars that he's created. So he's got true revenue and cost of goods sold and a physical product, whereas most of the people are more knowledge workers. And so it's been interesting to see the dichotomy between the two of those and the differences of what's important to each person. But it's been really great to help them get focused, but also now they have a much deeper connection to each other, which we're excited to see how that kind of continues after Cotivation in the space.
Yeah, Cotivation is a huge thing for me. It's a way of attracting members that breaks you out of the whole office space rental, direct competition to your other spaces, and also everyone who joins the Cotivation group is going to form bonds with other people, and your community is going to get a lot stronger and more participatory. It helps you with the people walk in and put on their headphones issue. Big time.
Yeah, the one thing we did add to it was basically starting off with a high and a low for each person for the week, and that especially the lows tend to bond people together very well, just because they're going to be sharing things that they would not share with, they're not going to go tweet that they lost their biggest customer. But those are things that they have to deal with as a freelancer or as a product business. So it's really helped them.
That's probably one of the big secrets about it, is that it gives you a safe space. It gives the members a safe space to talk about stuff that they wouldn't feel comfortable talking about publicly or even in the space. So doing it in an enclosed conference room is really important, because you need to be able to create this sense of privacy. And part of it is that everybody who participates kind of takes an oath of, we keep private stuff private, and we're not here to judge each other. We're all here to support each other. And people get emotional. People get serious. And honestly, that's how meaningful bonds get formed. The chit chat by the water cooler is good, and that can be very helpful to the culture in your space. But when somebody actually opens up and gets vulnerable, and then someone else steps up to help them out, that's a bond for life, and that's going to really take your community to another level.
Yeah, I mean, I've totally experienced that myself with just, there was, I think it was the first Cotivation I ran last August. there was somebody who left for a couple months because he was traveling out in California, and he came back, and like the first day that he came back, he was like, "Oh, I miss this place and I miss these people." And then I like turned my back for 1 second, and he was talking with another guy who was in Cotivation, and fast forward a year, and I recently just heard that his startup isn't doing as well as he had hoped, and they're actually looking to hire this person to work as CTO. So it's like one of those things where it's kind of like the power of the community and like people forming relationships and staying in touch with them. I mean, it's partially on them to kind of have that, but maybe they would have never met if they didn't both decide one day that they wanted to work on these projects together. So it works.
So if you're looking for something to do for the fall to attract members, highly recommend Cotivation. It's what I did specifically to try to attract members it was January, but it was the same kind of idea as September. Because we go through this again, December, January is the same kind of August, September dynamic. All right, so let's loop back around. And John, I'm going to start with you again. And I know that right now you're working on the development of the space, but I also want to know how you're working on the development of the community and the invitation to those people to be involved in your process as you're developing it. What can you tell me around your intentions regarding that?
And I'm sorry I couldn't pull my picture up. It must have been pretty scary this morning, but anyway.
We know what you look like.
Not today. The first thing I did is I went and attended a community business association meeting, and it's a group of residents and business owners within this particular community that I am opening my business, and it's a way to share information on new businesses, new residents that are coming in. And I'm actually looking to possibly hire the director of the event planning and social media as my community manager. She works for another marketing company right now, but she really wants to get into co-working, so that the timing might be ideal. But she has access to all the lists of the members, and as soon as we get our lease finalized and our plan completed, we'll send out an announcement showing that plan to the members. And then the other thing that from this group I learned about the meetups, I found one that is called Solopreneurs, and I think it's 2,100 members in Charlotte. And I've attended a couple of events. They've got good turnouts, 30, 40 people. I'm going to host one at a beer pub right across the street from the building that's under renovation. And right now there's a big leasing sign on the side of the building, not for my particular space, but for the building. But it's pretty much front and center. And I asked the organizer, I said, if would it be all right, because they hold it in another part of town. I said, if I hosted one and bought the beer, and most of these events, you buy your own beer. So I'm a little older, and this is a guy that I used to buy kegs from for many years. So he will probably spot me one, and I'll pay for the other. But be a good way to get people over in this particular community to see what we're doing. And by that time, I'll be able to have a little more marketing information, or at least our floor plan available, and some renderings of what the space will look like when we host this event. Once again, probably early fall when we'll do that.
Sorry, I lost my mute button. Awesome. That's great. That's perfect. That's exactly what I wanted to hear. So is there anything else in terms of like, well, we talked last week, and you're starting to develop your CRM, right?
Correct.
Okay. So is there any way that you can be informally convening people who have expressed interest kind of outside of this outbound, but starting to collect those people together, take them out, to a private lunch of people who've explicitly expressed interest, and like start to kind of engage them as a community?
Yeah, I'm fortunate. There's actually a community college that is anchoring this business, so I'm getting some good inroads with various professors and in different programs they're going to offer. They actually start their fall semester next week, so looking at doing some putting the word out to some of their different groups. Actually, one of the things we're going to do is offer their students a discount for membership, and in return, they're going to offer our members a discount on tuition. So that's going to be a huge tie-in, because these are mostly working professionals, and their classes are generally held at night. So I think that is also going to be a real positive partnership.
Awesome. All right. Keep up the great work. I like it, John. Thanks.
Thank you.
All right. Colin, I know you said that you are working on re-engaging and kind of recovering from the move. So kind of bring it full circle for me now. What are you going to do to re-engage that for the fall?
So part of it, I guess, is kind of different in that we have had to been doing a lot of remodeling and things. So as each room that we're remodeling gets done, we're able to add new members and things like that. So we have people who are interested. Us moving generated new interest, which is great. It's just, as remodeling and things like that go, we're trying to do everything out of cash flow. So we didn't go and take on a bunch of loans or anything like that. And so we're slowly bringing on, there's like 2 rooms that right now don't have any people in them. They're really going to help us just bring in a few more members and just like kind of give people a sense of it being done. It's kind of weird because it's been a really big focus, like the physical space has been a big focus of mine for the last couple of months, which is kind of not what I should be focusing on, but we need the building to be done and ready to go. And so we're aiming for an open house in January that will really be a way to kind of reintroduce ourselves to the community again. Once all those things are done. And in the meantime, it's making sure the members that we have are, again, trying to help them grow their business so that they don't even have to question their membership here. And the Cotivation's a part of that. The freelancer type lunch and learns are part of that. So we now really are focused on a lunch and learn once a month, a member meetup once a month, whether that's even just a barbecue or a town hall or some kind of way of making sure that members know that there are these things that they can be a part of. And it's been fun to see that because we're focusing on those things now, some of the people that we give tours to, those events, those meetups, they literally couldn't care less about them. And they kind of signal to us that they're just not going to be a good fit for us here. And so we don't spend too much time trying to chase those people. Even though we could try to add as many people as we want, I don't want to have to keep trying to justify to somebody that this is a place that they should stay. And so we've been more open to sending them to our new competitors. There's a few new spaces that have been opening in town. And it's been interesting to see how they're a little different than us. And I wish them luck, but they're very different than us. So.
My mute button. There it is. Okay. It's always fun when you can send people that you don't want to your competitors. It's just kind of funny like that.
Yeah.
Brendan, how about yourself? What's oh, sorry, I picked the wrong time. Amelie, you next, and then Brendan. So how's this all feeling for you? Feeling better about newsletter? What do you think is your game plan for the fall?
Yeah, I think starting with that is a good spot. I think maybe having some kind of event in there would be good too, to like draw people to a specific thing. But even if it's just inviting people back in, that's just a good first step, I think. But yeah, I think you guys have given me a lot to think about. It's one of those things that's been on the back burner for a while, and it's just one of those things I've been wanting to pick up, but have been wrestling with, okay, how much time do I actually have? And if I do this, I want to do it right. So yeah, I think that's a good place to start. And then, yeah, the Cotivation in October, like trying to drive some more people to something like that.
Awesome. All right. Can you report back in a week and let us know how it goes? If you hit any snags with the newsletter or whatever, and if you do it, send me a copy. I want to see it.
Okay, sounds good.
Yay.
Hold me accountable, everyone.
There you go. We're Cotivating right now.
Yes.
Brandon, last but not least, what's on your mind? What do you think for the fall?
Yeah, I mean, for me, I'm going to be very focused on going outside of the space and recruiting by attending as many meetup groups, jellies as possible, and really understanding what the local entrepreneurial ecosystem looks like and what could what would actually draw them into the space. Another thing that John actually brought out. So my actual job is to teach at a community college, business and entrepreneurship. And I was thinking when John was talking, are there any other organizations that have like a counter cycle to when membership declines at a co-working space, their membership increases at the same time? And could you partner in that, in that period of time, and maybe vice versa, their membership goes down, your membership increases, and it just works really well. And so I'm going to actually go to the school and talk to the administration on John's point, as the school system will welcome in 10,000 students in August. And is there a way to actually, incorporate co-working space as a value add to attending the school? So that's something I'm going to definitely look into. And from an insider's perspective, being an actual teacher at the school. So that's what I'm going to do going forward.
Love it. Awesome. Well, guys, I feel like we're on track here to do some good stuff for the fall. Any other quick thoughts or questions? John, you made it.
I'm a little slow learner, but it only took me an hour. I figured it out.
It really is you. It's not an imposter, after all. Awesome. Cool. Any other last minute thoughts? We got a few minutes left. Anything else? Anybody just, I don't know, whatever's on your mind you want to bring up?
Yeah, I won't be able to make the show and tell, but we're actually working on a thing. We're working on an open source member portal software right now. That it's a little ambitious, but what we're doing is we're working with a lot of the developer meetups in town to give them experience in developing software, and also scratch the itch that we had, which was we were going to go build our own member portal software. We've used pretty much everything out there from WordPress things to like Mighty networks and things like that, and they all suck a lot. So we're trying to build our own, and the software is being built by people of all experience levels, and the goal is that we're going to get it out there and show members, show any member type communities, whether it's co-working spaces or meetups, how to kind of spin up the app for themselves. And so you can have a private community or a public community. And maybe I saw you have a member directory now too, Tony, for New York City. So I've been playing around with that. I'm assuming that's Buddy Press.
Ultimate member.
Okay. Yeah. So there's a lot of things out there, but we just have had over the years, people have always just said we've had a member portal, but finding someone, like being able to do really good search across what people actually do, or being able to see who's looking for work, who's looking to hire, who does what, on the weekends, like what are their hobbies, what are their interests, all those kinds of things. And so we're trying to build it. It's an experiment. We'll see how it goes, but I'll send out details to everybody. And if you have developers that are interested in doing that, it's completely open. So people are literally taking issues and just working through it. And we have people doing code reviews and things. So it's another thing that, because a lot of our members are developers, it's another way of people kind of getting a chance to contribute in a different way.
Awesome. Sign me up. I love it.
Yeah.
Cool. All right. Well, I had a great time. I hope you guys had a great time.
Absolutely.
So great chatting with you guys.
Tony.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, you got it. We'll talk again in a week.
All right.
Cool.
See you, everybody.
Bye-bye.